Welcome, warriors. How are we doing? Back with another episode. We can call this morning retention, but actually, because I didn't get a chance to do one Saturday, I was running around like crazy in the morning, and Sunday usually don't do one. I'm just gonna do one for like the weekend, and maybe we'll call it weekend inspiration, and maybe I'll just do a morning one Monday through Friday. I got caught up with a bunch of stuff, and we have a bunch of snow here in the Midwest, and I'm running around, working yesterday and all kinds of stuff. So a lot of things going on. So I didn't get a chance to do one yesterday morning. But as always, I want to touch base with you guys and kind of just talk with you for a few minutes about one of these topics because you guys bring up a lot of good topics. And I want to shout out to two people. And this first one's Albert. We're going to talk about financial advice a little bit, and you may not realize how it connects to retention, but we're going to talk about that. And then the other one really is a person who contacted me a couple days ago, Paul Johnson, and I think I'm going to do a separate one on this one. But Paul Johnson is somebody who is at 1,590 days. 27 years. So unbelievable. And so, Paul, shout out to you. And I'm going to see if we can try to get some advice from Paul on certain things. I think we're all at different parts of the journey, and 27 years is just phenomenal. So, hats off to you, my friend, and congratulations. Keep it going as usual. I think that it's all really a matter of making ourselves improvement. In my case, I really believe that you get closer to God by doing this as well, and so it's always a case of bettering yourself. I haven't felt this good, like I said, since I was 12, 13, 14 years old before I started doing a lot of this stuff. So I think that certainly. It's a shout out to you, my friend, and like I said, if you get a chance to make some comments and give us some insight, on your journey and what's happened, I can always share those with the viewers as we go along. So today is what is today? Today is the 23rd of January. So like I said, we're going to talk. I'll probably call this weekend inspiration, retention, inspiration, or something like that. So we're going to go to Albert's question. Now, Albert asked me about some financial advice, and I think we did a few of these on financial advice, but let's just talk about the basic idea here. So, certainly I can talk about the fact that, from a biblical standpoint, we need to do things like tithing 1/10 of our savings and doing that. And I haven't done that the best I could over the years. That's one of the faults that I have to continue to work on. But I think the key is going to be the reason you do that, and let's go back to the whole idea, is because the same idea you have retention. With the problem with retention all those years was the fact that I think that I was in the same mode a lot of people were that have a similar type issue, is that you really don't want to miss out on the short-term pleasure, short-term gratification. The old saying is that, you only live once. And this is a philosophy that goes all the way back since I was, in grammar school, back to the 60s. The me generation, you have to live and the old Frank Sinatra song, My Way, and all those type of things. It was really kind of the cornerstone of that me generation, that people were, at the point where they wanted to have that short-term pleasure. We see it in abundance today because it's kind of been over the last, 1960s, you almost like 60 years you're talking about. That now you're at extreme case where people have phones, they have all these things at their fingertips, and they eventually got things like AI and people who are, using AIs in the house for security. And so you're at the point where you're doing less and less yourself, and you're trying to get more and more pleasures out of it. The danger in all of that is not being able to, A, learn how to work for something, and B, then appreciate what you've done and be grateful for what you have. And so this is why we go back to retention, why this is so difficult, because a lot of people don't want to sacrifice that short-term pleasure for the long-term gain. And obviously someone like Paul Johnson, who's at 1,590 days, realized, and probably early on, that this was something that was really a benefit long term. I know I have, and I'm closing in on 600. You're talking about, now I see the relevance of all, and now at this point, it doesn't really, I don't even think about it. And I think that Paul was mentioning something like alien mode, and it's probably where he's at right now. And hopefully I'll get there as well at some point. But the thing is, you really want to kind of focus on idea here and look at how important it is to really kind of looking at the idea of discipline. And this goes then back to the financial aspect we're talking about. If you can gather discipline to be able to go on long streaks, whether it's a couple thousand days, 600 days, whatever it might be, then you're at the point where you're talking about a number of years, right? If you can do it for 20 years, you can do it for 1590 is about, what, 360 days a year, 5-6 years there. You're talking about a big streak of time. And I think Paul said he did it for 27 years. And other things. I mean, and for 6 years, that's tremendous. That takes a lot of discipline. And my guess would be people like Paul and other people who have long streaks, and I've seen it with myself as well now. You get better from a financial standpoint. So there's a really direct correlation between retention and learning the skill of discipline, in which you're going monk mode like I am, or alien mode like Paul's doing, and then then Alberto, you're basically able then to use that for your finances. So what does that mean? The key thing in tithing is the idea that you're able to live on less than you make. That's the key. Now, I couldn't do that, and I think part of this was because I couldn't even do the retention-wise. I'm getting better with it, but if you can put 1/10 of everything you make, that I do the tithing and also doing investments, then you're able to go ahead and have some self-discipline where you can live on the rest of the money your own. Now, if you have family and kids like myself, you got to factor in some other type of expenses, but the key is you're trying to live within your means. And again, that's discipline. You're not going to blow all your money on a weekend with something that you don't really need and not pay your bills. And this is the kind of thing, this is a start. So that's a start. There's a great book called The Richest Man in Babylon. And even though Babylon, had it's all kinds of issues, the idea is still pretty clear. If you're putting money away and you're living on your interest and not your principal, the money you put in, then you're able to go ahead and do things. So I think certainly putting money aside, I think, for instance, some of the Asian countries, they put in 20% of their income they save, which is phenomenal. You can just see all the kind of things they're doing over the years. Other people do it, as far as, 10th or something like that. United States, we're not very good. I think the last numbers I saw was 3 or 4%. And a lot of people have trouble putting money away. And with credit cards and everything else they're spending, and we're going through a bad time. Inflation's high and a lot of things are going. But a normal time, you should always try to live within your means. The second thing you got to do is diversify, is my other recommendation, Alberto. I would diversify, get into the crypto stuff, Bitcoin, gold, silver, a lot of these type of things, commodities, all kinds of stuff, whether it's, even, wheat, different types of things. And I say that because in stocks and then obviously real estate, all these type of things allow you to be diversified. So in case something doesn't work, like the dollar gets to the point where they change the system or something happens and we're going to Bitcoin or crypto, then all of a sudden now you're at a whole different type of currency and you've been left out in the cold. So you want to make sure that you're not going to lose all your money on the stocks because you have everything in one basket, all your eggs in one basket. You don't want that. You want to have around different places so that you're able to see different things as you go along. All right. So I think, Albert, the key is the association when it comes to retention and the idea of financial types of advice and security is the fact that you're using discipline. You're trying to live within your means, and then whatever you have left over, you're investing. And that's the key. Now, obviously, a lot of the mistakes I made over the years was spending money on a lot of crazy things because I was looking at the short-term pleasure than a long-term gain. And I think certainly that's one of the keys in this whole thing, is that you really want to go ahead and forego the short-term pleasure and realize in the long run you're getting those type of benefits. And that's really where hope and faith and all these things come in to play. You're really going for the long-term type of gain. And I think that's such a key when it comes to trying to be successful in the long run. Yeah, you're not going to have that short-term pleasure, but that's where we get ourselves in trouble, right? When it comes to either retention or spending our money or any other kind of addiction, right? People go and gamble away their money. The key is, to me, Alberto, is that the idea is to try to look at everything as an investment. Now, I know that kind of sounds a little cold-hearted, and certainly I don't mean it in that way. But you look at your children, like my children, and their investments. We put money into them finishing their degrees. One has a master's degree, and another one is finishing. He's got to finish with school and doing different types of certificates and things, and another one's working in a position as well. And so, I think the investments for them is for the future, and so I look at that as an investment. Whether I have a comic book collection. I like obviously reading the comic books because I had them when I was really young back in the 60s, but I keep them because they're worth some money. The same thing with a train collection. I like obviously the train, and I like building stuff, but I also, I realize there's a lot of money tied up in that as well. I have these little electric football men as well. So you have a lot of different types of things that are investments. The key to investment is that if you can sell it back at a higher price, you've made some money. Just like with a stock. I'm very conservative. A lot of people take chances with stocks, but if it goes down 5, it goes up 5, I may end up selling it. But in my mind, I'm going to make money across the board. I'm not really worried that much about making a big killing here and there. And that's why. Now, other people look at it differently, and you have to have your own strategy. But obviously, work with an advisor. I used to work with Charles Schwab, different types of places you can focus on. But get somebody to kind of help you with the investments. But the first thing you got to do is put money aside as soon as you get paid, all the time. One of the things in this Richest Man of Babylon is you have to pay yourself first. Pay God and then pay yourself. And that's not always easy. That's one of my faults, and so I'm trying to get better at that, but that's something that I don't do well. All right, so I hope, Alberto, I've answered some questions. If anybody has specific questions and I can help them with it, I'm certainly not, a rich person or like some of these people are. So I'm not going to be an expert on this, but I can tell you things that I've done myself and other people have done that's ended up working for them. And once again, just like with retention, but the key that I do know of, and I don't think anybody can disagree with this one, is that the key to being happy and successful, and certainly not getting yourself in debt, is to spend less money than you make. So you have money then to invest, and living on the interest of that money than living on the principal. All right, so anyway, guys, we're going to go back. I think tomorrow morning is Monday. We're going to go back and do our morning talk for the week. I think I'll do morning talk, and I'm still thinking about the name, but morning talks Monday through Friday, and then we'll do an inspiration one, and if we have some other topics come up, I'll do one. And we are going to talk about next time, I think, some brahmacharya. Baba had one on monk mode I want to cover. I know Sal had one on men to be leaders, eye contact from Nasir, and why so many men are single. And I do want to look at, I'm going to write this down too, the one from Paul Johnson on long streaks. We can talk about that a little bit too, because that's something that I think especially a lot of our young viewers want to kind of learn about. And once again, that's kind of you're in a state, because I was there myself, and I thought this was a lot of crazy stuff, talking about trying to do this when you're younger. When I'm older, it's a little bit easier. I mean, but as I was telling Paul, I had 45 years of this. So I roundabout there, something like that. I had 12 years or 13 years that I can remember not doing it, and then all of a sudden, I couldn't stop myself. And I had bits and times when I was successful, doing it for a week or two here, but nothing like this. And so then I finally decided that I have nothing to lose, because I'm not going to continue doing what I was doing, and I was done. So it took me a long time to get to that point. Hopefully you guys get that point and keep it a lot longer. But I'm sure you're all going to go back through battles, even as Paul and I are doing at this stages of our journey to keep on this. All right, guys, have a great weekend. I'm watching the football games on Saturday. We're good, 2 good games. The road teams won. And then hopefully we got a couple more today. It's going to be some exciting games. So I'm watching American football. So you guys have a great day, and I'll talk to you tomorrow. Battle on!